guess we can start. Hello, welcome. I have two wonderful guests with me today. We are going to talk about a really cool set of applications for blockchain technology and digital assets. And first I'd like to introduce Holly Goodhart. She is the Senior Director of Marketing at Uphold. And Fabio Velarde, he is the Head of Growth and Partnerships at Sologenic. And what's kind of funny, if you were here last year, I also did a panel with Uphold and Sologenic, so it's like round two. We'll see if we can do a better job this time.
Deja vu.
So one of the cool things about what we're going to talk about today is that the world of digital assets and blockchain technology, there's a lot of companies and applications that almost look like a whole bunch of islands kind of floating in this sea, each one doing their own thing. And today we're going to talk about two companies that have built software applications that are solving very specific problems, and they have come together and are working together in a joint partnership that is making it kind of more problems are getting solved by unifying together. So before we kind of get into that, tell me a little bit about what Uphold has been up to lately and how it's going to kind of segue into what we're going to talk about with Sologenic.
Yeah, absolutely. So we heard a little bit yesterday from Simon and Nancy, and they gave a big overview of what's been happening with the wallet and our launch of Vault and what's coming with the stablecoin. I have a really super unique position in that I'm over our enterprise and our institutional teams. So what I get to do is work very closely with our business partners and look at what the strengths of Uphold are, how we leverage our technology and our platform to actually benefit our partners and fit seamlessly into other solutions to enable easier access to crypto, seamless transactions. And earlier this year, or rather late last year, we launched our product Topper, which is our on-ramp solution. And that's where our partnership with Sologenic came in.
So Fabio, how does what Sologenic, you guys have a wide range of products. What is sort of the problem that you're solving that ties into what you're doing with Uphold?
I think I can start from how and why Sologenic exists. For those who don't know what Sologenic is an ecosystem of user interfaces. I like to call it interfaces because it allows you to interact with the XRPL native features. So the first iteration of Sologenic was the Sologenic DEX, an organic order book DEX. We launched it in 2020, and since then, that DEX has been operating and just we've been able to add like additional functionality on top. One of them being, for example, an IDO launchpad, a market index, so you can track all of your XRPL tokens, Solo Wallet, which is an XRPL wallet, and as part of these, ecosystem that we've been building, we saw the need for a fiat ramp, and that's how we came across Topper. I think the need for a fiat ramp is basically so users don't have to go to a centralized exchange to then fund their XRP wallets and activate them. So we're just trying to make the user experience less frictionless. And yeah, Uphold was the right partner because they've been around for a bit and they have not delisted XRP for the last 4 years. So definitely a solid partnership.
And one of the points that David Schwartz just said in his speech presentation was this bridge between the traditional finance world and the sort of new DeFi, decentralized finance world. They can't really operate separately. We need to kind of bring them closer and closer together. And one area in which that's significant is this on-ramp. Like I have a job, I get a paycheck, and I have money. Now I need to get that money kind of into crypto land to participate in a DeFi exchange. So what are some of the challenges that Uphold faces with trying to be this bridge, the on-ramp and off-ramp for fiat currencies?
Well, I would say this. I mean, when we started to develop Topper specifically, there were other on-ramp solutions in the space, but we looked at the existing solutions and we said, do we think we can build a better solution? And with a little bit of swagger, we said, yeah, absolutely we can do that. So again, like leveraging our technology and being in the process of having being in the business of processing so many payments, we're able to fit seamlessly into a DEX or a self-custodial wallet and be able to accept fiat and offer users higher approval rates. But we also looked at other challenges that our users are facing with on-ramp solutions. Many of them only offer perhaps like just a small handful of assets. We're able to offer virtually everything that's available on Uphold via Topper. And then looking at transaction processing, there are other ramps in the space. I'd heard some use cases where it took hours, if not a week, for transactions to process, and we just said that's not acceptable. So we set out to offer that. We're really super excited about what we've done to date. We have a number of our partners who have said we're their top ramp in the States, or many of their jurisdictions. We're available in 150 countries currently. And so we're excited to continue to build on what we've launched with. Fabio mentioned on-ramping, so I have to ask, does anybody care about off-ramping? Is anybody excited about that?
Yeah.
Right? Cool. I like to say what goes on probably at some time wants to come off. So I'm excited to share we will be offering off-ramping later this year. So just stay tuned to Uphold channels and be on the lookout for Topper. It's available in Sologenic and a number of other XRP wallets.
So Holly, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a sensitive question, which is, you know, the off-ramp thing is a big deal.
It is.
And there's been a lot of applications, companies, whatever, who have attempted to be off-ramps and they face significant challenges. So, like, how can you describe, like, what the problem is and why Uphold can't just be an off-ramp today in the US?
It's a really wonderful question. And unlike David, I'm not a CTO, so I'm not going to go too deep in the weeds on the technically why it's so challenging. But if you just think of all of the different cards, payment methods, banks, rails, jurisdictions, it's just, we operate in a space where it's easier sometimes to take the money than to give it back, right? So it's a complicated process, but we've been going down the road. We launched the product with the idea that we were going to be a full service ramp solution. So the first phase was on ramping, and now we're ready to, almost ready to launch off ramping.
Awesome. So Fabio, I know many of us have been in the blockchain world for years, but when you go and kind of talk to people outside of events like this, it's obvious we're still very early. So what is Sologenic kind of doing right now that the market is ready for?
There's a lot going on, but I think our vision is to be the A to C when it comes to all XRPL operations, and not just for retail users, but also for institutions. And that's why being able to have, you know, high quality stable coins or tokenization, which is the next thing that we're going to launch, and I'm going to disclose a little bit. We need a solid partner that can kind of offload the risk of being compliant, because we are a technology firm, right? Everything we build is open sourced, and in the DEX, the orders are directly between buyers and sellers, or now with the AMM, which is super cool. You know, David talked about it. But there's still a need to get in and get out, like Holly said. And yeah, I think liquidity is one of the things we talked yesterday about, interoperability and how this helps. But Uphold, for example, they tap into different markets, not just like their own exchange, to get the best price rates, right? And we definitely saw value in that for solo wallet users and anyone that wants to get on the XRPL and trade.
So I've been a user of Uphold for a while, and so as a retail person, I understand sort of the use cases for it, but you're actually in the enterprise division. What does that actually mean? What is an enterprise, and what what are their needs and how are they different than someone like me who has retail use case?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's actually a number of people in this room that are developing projects that have approached me and others on the team about integrating Topper. Topper is one of our solutions on the enterprise side. We also have something that we call just business accounts, and you would think about that like you would the wallet as a user for yourself. But if you're a business entity, a couple examples I love to give are gig economy workers. A good example would be, say, take like an Upwork or an entity like that, where you may be accepting payments in various currencies, and you have a global workforce, and you need to exchange, pay them out, and they might be in a different country. They may elect to receive their payment in some form of digital asset. So a business account is an enterprise solution that would enable a more business entity to be able to facilitate cross-border payments, again, taking the strengths of Uphold, leveraging anything to anything style payments. Self-directed IRAs is another use case example. With the on-ramp specifically, we fit really seamlessly into DEX's self-custodial wallets. No surprise, our first Topper partner that we launched with was an XRP wallet, Sum. And then Sologenic, I think, was our second partner. So like this here goes way back a long time, like legacy in the making. And then we have some other really super cool use cases. One I really love to share is we've been working with some metaverse and Web3 blockchain gaming partners, wherein they might have an in-game currency or a governance token. Those tokens are listed on the Uphold exchange, and then they're available as in-game currency inside those blockchain games. So those are just some of the like really super from anywhere from gaming to gig economy stuff. Again, we love to be able to take the technology that Uphold is built and be able to plug it into other use cases. You know, we're on a mission for mass adoption and just making digital assets as acceptable and seamless across the globe as we can.
So Fabio, earlier we had this fantastic panel with the attorneys talking about regulation, and unfortunately it seems like it's going to be a while before we have some clarity on things like stablecoins in the US. So as sort of the head of partnerships for Sologenic, like how do you navigate in a sea where like you don't even know when the rules are going to change to sort of run a company and build it in a strategic way?
It's a very good question. I think we have a unique expertise when it comes to product on the XRPL, being the first project that was permissionally launched on the ledger. You know, I say permissionlessly because of course there were some Ripple products before, but that allowed us to the past 3 years, like every single update that we pushed, even when it's on the app or it's on the web app, we have been careful to always address decentralization, address any security risks. And I think for example, we were looking for a broker dealer about 2 years ago to being able to launch our securities tokenization platform. Like that's the goal of Sologenic, to bring RWAs into the ledger, and we're getting very close to that. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because when the lawsuit thing came in, we had to find ways to handle user onboarding because a lot of exchanges delisted XRP. There was a lot of uncertainty. So we've always been careful with any update that we pushed, and I think the way that we're handling, like this regulatory gray area that we can see is by growing the ecosystem as much as we can, like understanding the user experience as much as we can with assets that are not securities, right? Like you can trade XRPL tokens right now, or even NFTs. And that already gave us a level of expertise to say once we can bring the securities on chain, like everything is mapped out. So I would say that's how we've been preparing for it. Partnering with third parties that have the money transmitter licenses to operate, of course. And yeah, we are very, like I said, we're very careful, and we always remain up to date to regulation in the US specifically, because we want to stay operating in the US and not escape to other jurisdictions like other technology firms. Yeah.
So this lack of regulations is an issue for Uphold as well. So you were telling me about a new initiative you have in Latin America, in Brazil. Tell us about that, and is that kind of partly being done because we need to be building in countries where the legislation is more clear?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of our exciting roadmap announcements we wanted to share. Coming later this quarter, Topper specifically is looking at Latin America expansion. And the first region we're going to be going into is Brazil. And we are integrating PIX as a payment method on Topper. So any of our partners, Sologenic, any that work with Topper, in Brazil specifically, they'll be able to go on and on-ramp using PIX as their payment method. And additionally, we're currently evaluating other jurisdictions in the region.
Yeah. I mean, this is all about convenience. When I am from Latin America, for example, and there are some very specific payment methods that we use, and not a lot of ramps support them. So when this type of updates are really exciting, because it allows us to really address the direct needs of certain user groups. And also we can run campaigns. For marketing is really, really easy to handle attribution once you have this type of onboarding that requires light KYC. And yeah, I think it's great that you guys are doing Brazil. I definitely have my eyes on that too. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's anywhere you want us to look at, you let me know. You just whisper in my ear backstage.
Well, I'm from Peru originally, so I think there's a huge. We have any other Peruvians?
Anybody else from Peru? I see a hand.
Oh yeah. She noticed my accent yesterday. She came up and was like, "Your accent is very Peruvian." I didn't notice, but anyways, yeah, Latin America, definitely, and we're not the only ones. Like Miami right now, it's like crypto. It's becoming a crypto hub with a lot of blockchain firms that want to tap into that user base. So, yeah.
Exactly.
So one of the exciting things we learned yesterday was that if I custody my XRP in the vault or with another Uphold wallet, that I could earn yield on it if I'm participating in the AMM. So thinking about you as in the enterprise division, if countries or large companies have significant treasuries, can they essentially earn a yield on that to cover expenses that a business has, or even potentially expenses that a country has?
We do, as part of an enterprise solution offer, there is a treasury management aspect of it. Okay. So that would be potentially a treasury management solution.
It'd be pretty cool, right? To have your money work for you. So we only have a couple minutes left. So Fabio, what is let's say a year from now, we do the same panel. And what do you feel like are going to be the big Sologenic wins in the next 12 months?
The biggest win is being able to offer, tokenized securities in the States. And that's our clear goal for this year. Product-wise, we're also always improving, I think this year we finally have a data warehouse, so we can really say this much of the XRPL traffic was done on Sologenic. Up until this day, we were so decentralized that it was hard for me to actually tap into campaigns and really target the users. But I think we have a very unique notification system, for example, that we haven't been using. So I look forward to doing more marketing. I mean, you guys are early here. Anyone that is in this conference is already holding XRP, it's already in, but how do we get people, from these jurisdictions that we just talked about? That's what we're working on this year. So I would say a big win for Sologenic is definitely launching that as a gateway, and that's our vision. It's not launching just a platform where you can just access Sologenic tokenized assets, but more like a marketplace. So any asset issuer on the XRPL, even if it's you know, a family fund or like a private equity firm, or all of these players that want to go into, you know, the XRPL can use our marketplace to compliance first, list their own assets. And from what we are going to focus on is just how can users really hold this in a secure way, interact with it, and yeah, so that's a big win, just having all of your assets on one single DEX.
All right, Holly, same question. We're going to meet here a year from now. What are the wins that you'll be sharing for the past 12 months?
So exciting. So, I mean, a few of the things that Nancy and Simon shared yesterday, adding more support for additional tokens to Vault. I'm in the shameless plug section of the chat here. In your goodie bag, you would have received a postcard for Vault. So if you haven't tried it, please do. We encourage you. There's like a offer in your goodie bag for that. And then with the topper side, I shared the off-ramping, getting going into Latin America. And then additionally, on the institutional side, we have an OTC offering, and that's really starting to kick into gear. So all of those things are really, really exciting initiatives we're working on this year.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me to be able to meet with both of you. Val, who works with both of your companies, so it's been great
Thank you, Molly.
You guys again.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next year.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.